Hi guys, and welcome back to our channel. Happy 10th day of Vlogmas. So for today's episode of Vlogmas, I decided that we were going to read a bedtime story with Will. He's already had his bath and he's just ready to have his quiet time that I like to do in the evening before I lay him down. And tonight, instead of doing some quiet playtime, I just figured we would read How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Now, I just got this book the other day, and this was one that I was really looking forward to getting him to read during the holiday season because I really like this book as well, and I hope that this will be one of his holiday favorites. Excuse me, son. Because I know he won't be, you know, cooperative the whole time, I do have some toys here. So if I reach down and like give him one, or you see him have like another toy, that's why. Like, I know he's not gonna listen the entire time, but we can only hope. Let's go ahead and get this guy situated and then let's get started. You want that? You can already tell he's getting a little tired. Okay, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Now, he may randomly grab for this book and start trying to eat it, so be ready for that. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why, no one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be, perhaps, that his shoes were too tight. But I think the most likely reason of all may have just been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm, lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming, I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow, he knew, all the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early, they'd rush for their toys. And then, oh the noise, 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 noise. That's one thing he hated, the noise, 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 noise. Emphasis on the noise. What you reaching for? What you want? Want that? When the Who's young and old would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast and they'd feast and they'd feast, 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 feast. They would feast on the Who pudding and rare Who roast beast, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. He was not a happy camper, was he, bud? And then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Whos would start singing. They'd sing and they'd sing, and they'd sing, 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 sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sting, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how? Excuse me, you know, I never realized. 53 years, like, he old. He an old guy. Then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I guess I should turn the camera this way, huh, so you can see the page. I know just what to do, the Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled and chuckled, chuckled and clucked, oops. And he chuckled and clucked, what a great Grinchy trick. Now with his coat and his hat, I look just like Saint Nick. Would you quit that? All I need is a reindeer, the Grinch looked around. But if reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max, then he took some red thread, and he tied a big horn on the top of his head. Look at that, huh? Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh. He hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, get out. Get out. And the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Whos lay snoozed in their town. All their windows were dark, quiet snow filled the air. All the Whos were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, this is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Oh, here you go. Oh, you want that? Okay. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who's stockings all hung up in a row. These stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn, and plums, and he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimney. Oh, it says chimbley. I never noticed that. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast feast. He cleaned out the icebox as quick as a flash, while that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. Say, what a jerk. What a jerk, huh? Look, you see that? He's stealing everything. He's taking it all. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee, and now, grinned the Grinch, I will stuff up the tree. Ooh, did you see that? I'm sorry, bud. And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou Who was no more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter who got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why? But you know the old Grinch was so smart and so slick, he thought up a lie and he thought it up quick. Why, my sweet little tot, the fake Santa Claus lied. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side, so I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here. And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. What? You can't have the book. You can't eat it. Then the last thing he took was the log for their fire. Then he went up the chimney, himself, the old liar. On their walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Look at that little mouse. You see that little guy? You see that little guy? And all the Who's are sleeping. Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs with much too small for the other Who's mouses. It was 1/4 dawn, all the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a snooze, when he packed up his sled. Packed it up with their presents, their ribbons, their wrappings, the tags and the tinsel, the trimmings and trappings. Honey, you cannot have my book. You're making me cover up the camera, honey. 3,000 feet up on the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. Pooh-pooh to the Who's, he was Grinchishly humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo. My love, you can't steal my book. You want that? That's a noise, grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. We'll discuss this book when we're done, honey. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, the sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry. Very. He stared down at Whoville, the Grinch popped his eyes, then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. Look at all of them holding hands, huh? Are they all singing together? Are they singing together, bud? And the Grinch in his Grinch feet, ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons, it came without tags, it came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours, till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew three sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed down his load through the bright morning light, and he brought back the toys and the food for the feast. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. Look at that, bud, huh? See that Cindy Lou and the Grinch right there? What you think, Guy? Yep. I knew that was gonna happen. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and put this guy to bed. Thank you so much for joining us for our bedtime story. I hope you guys have a good night. Don't forget to hit that red subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.